Vancouver, and I'm joined by Michael Walker from VDA. And as we start the meeting, Michael and I will provide some context and some comments about the meeting itself. So today we'll be hearing updates about the exciting new Main Street Streetscape project. And we'll be hearing a lot about that later on. A little bit about the meeting itself. Due to the number of people in this meeting, we do ask that you all please turn off your video and your audio both, and unless you're a speaker. And so Michael and I will have our video on for a little while, and then as speakers come and go, they'll turn their video on. We make exception for Mayor Ann, who gets to have her video on as much as she wants to. And we always like to see her smiling face. Michael?
Awesome. So just as a quick reminder for those who are new to downtown stakeholders, the purpose of this forum is to be a place with anyone who has a connection to downtown, to collaborate with residents, business owners, city, local agency staff on community-driven projects to enhance our community's atmosphere, to engage community and receive input, and just, help promote the overall vitality of our community. So I appreciate everyone participating and joining in today to be a part of our Main Street project update.
One thing that we do in this meeting is we use the chat a lot, and that's the way that people can stay engaged. And so you're welcome to introduce yourself in the chat, and then at any time during the meeting, ask questions or make comments. We don't have John Collum in our meeting today. We usually have him to manage the chat. So Michael and I will be looking at that. And we're fortunate that we have Sherry Caballero, who's helping us. And she has started the recording for the meeting and is helping with our PowerPoint. And I think we're ready to get that started. Are you ready for the PowerPoint to start, Michael?
Yes.
There we go. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Sherry, please.
All right. So here's the agenda in front of us today. We went over the quick welcome. We're having a project team update from Juanita with McKay Spacito, and then we'll be diving into the strategy for business retention with the City of Vancouver, and VDA's role being an advocate, partner, and providing resources during the project. From there, we'll have a Q&A, and then we'll be previewing the 11/22 meeting, which will focus on engagement opportunities like open houses, and another McKay Spacito update.
Next slide, please. And so to begin with, I'd like to introduce Juanita Rogers, and she's helping manage our Main Street project. And if you don't know about that project yet, you're going to be hearing a lot about it in the future. That is the whole revitalization of Main Street from 5th to 15th. And we're going to give you a timeline today and lots of information. We've been out listening to what people are saying, and we've heard a lot, and we have a lot more to share today. So Juanita, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Can't hear you quite yet, Juanita.
Juanita, it looks like you need to unmute. Is that working for you?
Worst comes to worst, Juanita, you can also maybe call in too if you need to.
Okay. Juanita's going to work on that for a minute, and until she does, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the project, and hopefully she can get on in just a minute. So Sherry, would you go to the next slide? We have an entire team of people already working on this project. We're under contract with the firm McKay Spacito, and they have several subs working with them. And they'll share some of the exciting work they've been doing. But we wanted to start with the opportunities that you have to hear much more about this project. And we'll mention these a couple of times today. But to start with, we'll have our first big in-person open house. Hope to see you all there November 30th from 4:30 to 6:30 at the downtown library. And then
Yeah.
Michael, do you want to talk about the next one?
Definitely. So the December 1st Friday, which is on December 2nd, we'll be having a First Friday open house from 5 to 7 p.m. at our VDA office located at 811 Main Street. So we'll have agency staff here to answer questions in a really accessible format during that First Friday meeting.
And then we also have these meetings continuing on the fourth Tuesday of every month. We'll stay virtual on these meetings. And so at 1 o'clock, you can always count on being able to log into this meeting and also hear updates about the project. And then today we're launching a new website with a lot of content on it. And here's the URL for it on the slide. And we'll get that put in the chat as well, so you can copy that. We'll post this presentation today on the website as well. And we also have new staff, Julie Ahrens, who will answer your questions directly. So lots of ways to hear more and get engaged and tell us what you think. Next slide. Okay. Well, if Juanita was on the call, then she would be telling you that they're wrapping up field investigations and studies, and they've been out, you might have seen them. They've been down doing a lot of work on Main Street itself. They've been conducting a historic inventory, hazardous materials inventory, doing geotechnical borings, a topographic survey, a traffic analysis, a parking occupancy study, and private utility coordination. So all of this work being done in advance of really even having design work done on the street yet. That's still to come, but this is all of the preparation work. Next slide, please.
And Juanita just joined via phone. Juanita, are you able to unmute yourself now via phone?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
That's perfect. Yay. Crisis averted. Thank you so much.
That's okay. I have an echo on my phone and the computer, so I'm gonna pull my headset off a little bit.
Okay.
So Teresa went over the kind of the field investigation work that's going on, and this is now what we're currently working on. Which just wanted to let you know, you had a lot of field crews walking around gathering data, and so we also have our design team who's working on looking at constraints and opportunity analysis. That's like access to safety, connectivity, and then the site investigations. Again, we talked about briefly on the other slide, but our design team has been out in the street, walking the corridor, looking at different opportunities and gathering data, taking photos. You might have seen us there. You might have talked to us, a few of us, and it was great to be able to kind of get out there and look at all the information. And then we're also looking at analyzing block by block geometry. We're factoring in the unique conditions per block because they're all slightly different, and we're using that information to feed into design opportunities. We're conducting a parking analysis, so we're reviewing the field data. We're looking at opportunities to increase parking capacity. We're as part of that occupancy study that was done earlier, we're understanding where higher demand areas might be located, like such as restaurants or coffee shops, and looking at that as opportunities and how we're handling design and looking at some placemaking strategies. And in addition to discussing these placemaking strategies, we're looking for ideas for creating a downtown destination. We want to look at opportunities for activating spaces. We're brainstorming ideas of how they might apply here. And as a consultant team works through these, we are going to start developing these and sharing these with the public and allowing opportunities to provide feedback at those opportunities that Teresa mentioned in the earlier slide for the community outreach. Those opportunities are great platforms to be able to come and share information. Next slide. And then we're talking about, I wanted to just talk about a project brand. Our outreach team has developed over the last month. Our team worked with the city to brand project in a way the community can identify and connect with it more easy as we gear up. And we're helping to bring this bring this project that is, 30 years in the making. This branding logo is not intended to be used as replacing any downtown branding. This is used agnostic for the project design. So materials that you see this logo, you would know it'd be part of this project.
Thanks, Juanita. We appreciate that update. And so hopefully everybody who is on the call now sees that the next slide has that branding on it, that Main Street promise. You're going to see that on every slide now. And our promise is safe, accessible, and connected. And that is our brand for this Main Street project. The project also, we understand, will have impact to businesses. And so we have used some of our federal money to hire a special project manager to work with our downtown businesses. And her name is Julie Ahrens. You may know Julie. She has been around for a long time in Vancouver, and she previously worked as a vice president for IQ Credit Union. And so we are so proud to be able to have Julie working with our small businesses with her background in finance and in business development. And she has been busy and only has been working with us, I think, less than 2 months. We think you're going to be really interested in what Julie has to say today. And so, Julie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Teresa. Good morning, everybody. As some of you might be aware, I'm brand new to the city, and as Teresa mentioned, my background has deep roots working with business owners and helping business owners. And so for this project, my plan is to devote my time and my energy. Where that's coming from.
Surprise performance by Coldplay.
Devote my time and energy to staying focused on how we can all help business owners
Julie for a looper.
up and down Main Street. I want to be sure that you have my phone number. Take note of my cell phone number here on this slide. I want to be sure that I'm on your speed dial list. Take note of that email address. I want that address to rise to the top of your inbox. We want to be sure that you are comfortable knowing that you have complete and total access to connecting with me for the next couple of years, especially during this project. Next slide. So today we'll talk about the construction landscape across America. We'll talk about different business assistance resources, tools, and ideas that the city is committed to in helping businesses and property owners up and down Main Street. And then we'll talk about engagement, some different ways for you to be involved, stay in the loop, and know what's going on with this project over the next couple of years. Next slide, please. So I don't know if you've traveled anywhere, but you might have noticed, if you have, that construction is everywhere, right? Construction, roadworks, infrastructure upgrades are happening in all regions across the United States right now. With this current administration in the White House, there's been a huge infusion of federal dollars and state money across American cities. So many main streets throughout America are being improved upon and upgraded as we speak, and within the next few years. And if you look at this slide, you can actually see that construction, it's not anticipated to start slowing down next year either. So we know that in many cases, these infrastructure upgrades and improvement projects, let's be honest, they're disruptive to the businesses around the project. We recognize that, and we are committed to helping with that process. But I think that if you tuned in last month to our stakeholders meeting on, I think it was 9/29, Linda Glover from Divine Consign chimed in towards the end of the meeting. And I liked how frank she was and honest. And she said, you know what? Yes, this will be hard. Yes, this may be uncomfortable, but this will be in the long run better for all of us. And I really appreciated that comment. And I hope we're able to keep our eye on the vision of where we're going through this project. Next slide, please. So it's important to know that many of the project partners, your team at the City of Vancouver, we are all looking at what other cities are doing on their main streets when it comes to construction projects. We're looking at what is working for them, what is not working for them. And for those projects who are already complete now, we're also considering what are they now saying they would have done differently. Next slide, please. So today we want to share with you some of the most consistent best practices that we're seeing. So no matter what project we're looking at in other cities across the US, there are some definite best practices that keep rising to the top. So we want to share that. And based on what we've learned from these projects in other cities, we want to share some strategies that we're committed to in helping to attract customers to your business on Main Street, both during construction and after construction. Next slide. So now let's dig into the business assistance ideas, resources, and tools that the city is committed to creating. The number one most consistent best practice we're seeing is communication. And when we think about communication, really, there's two types of communication, right? There's internal communication and there's external communication. First, we're going to focus on internal communication. And internal communication, this is all how we're going to communicate with each other behind the scenes and during this process, right? The communication that takes place between you as a business owner, you as a resident, and the contractors and the project partners and the city of Vancouver and business owners on every single block. This is all the communication that's going to help us work together and staying looped in and knowing what's coming next for each step of this project. So our vision at the city is that the entire region is going to be aware of this project and that businesses and community members will know where and how to access information for this project. In addition, we're going to share information, as you already heard, in many different venues, locations, open houses, virtuals, different time frames, and in multiple languages. So if this is our vision for you all to be looped into what's happening with this project and how to access information about this project, this slide that you're looking at now shows our plans for how to achieve this. So I already put in the chat, we created a new Be Heard Vancouver page. Every project that the city does, they create this beautiful page for specifically that project. So perhaps you're following the beautiful Gateway project. We now, as of this morning, your eyes are the first eyes to see it, have created a Be Heard page for the Main Street project. So feel free to click on the link and check that out. We're partnering with the VDA throughout the project, and we're hosting things called coffee chats or coffee corners. And these are just going to be informal gatherings up and down Main Street or around Main Street in coffee shops or restaurants. And we want to invite the public to come on in and hear what's going on with the project. We're going to be sending you surveys and emails. There will often be surveys at the bottom of that Be Heard page. There is a survey there right now. We would love to hear from you. And then you can sign up for email alerts too on our Be Heard page, right? Stay looped in with us. Teresa mentioned we've been really busy for the last 2 months doing data collection. And what we've done with our GIS department and some other departments is we've been researching every single business up and down Main Street from 5th to 15th. If you've got an address or a door, we found you. I think we found you. And we have done something great with that data. I'll show you in just a couple slides why that matters. And then some other ideas are like block chats or block texts. Maybe I'm a business owner on 5th Street and I just want to be in tight-knit communication with my own block. Let's create a text string or a group chat or even a social media page just for our block or for the whole Main Street corridor so that we can keep the communication up and going and be transparent and open and everybody learn from what they're seeing and share with each other. And then, of course, open houses and one-on-one business visits. Next slide, please. So those are all internal communication. Now, how are we going to get the word out that we are open for business, right? That you are open for business. So here's some great ideas we have. They're coming in every day. Keep them coming. We want to hear from you. But the city has a great social media team. We even have our own TV station and TV crew. So let us do business shout outs for you. And not only let us do business shout outs for you, if you've got something going on in your business or a special event, let's partner or let's leverage some of our partnerships like with the Chamber or with the Hazeldale Association or the Uptown Business Association. Let's partner with them and have them also push out these shout outs, spreading the word even further about what's happening in your business. Again, with the goal, right, to create traffic into your doors. And part of that is doing some special events. If you're a bar, let's create a video, you know, meet the bartender, meet the business owner, meet the chef. Or maybe you have a maker space and you're going to be hosting a wreath making workshop. You know, let's get some video taken, let's post it out there, and then let's have our partners also help spread the word about the cool, fun things that you're doing in your four walls. And then, of course, we're going to have wayfinding signs so that people walking up and down Main Street know where to find you and know that you're open. It'd be fabulous if you're a business that offers products, food, or service. If you think about creating some to-go options, part of our partnership is to ask contractors and the construction folks to patronize local businesses. So if you've got some handy to-go options for them, that will really help keep the money flowing into your bottom line, keep the sales up. And then finally, we know that parking is a huge concern. It's probably the #1 concern we're hearing from folks. So know that we are exploring every idea, every avenue on parking, looking at the space we have and what can be done to maximize the usage of the actual streets that we have to work with. In addition to a shuttle pilot idea that Michael Walker and the VDA is actually working on. Michael, do you want to talk about the cool shuttle pilot you've got going?
Definitely. Julie, were you able to integrate the photos or should I share my screen with the concepts?
Next slide. Yeah, next slide, please.
Yeah, so through lodging tax dollars, we were awarded a grant to do a pilot in partnership with RYE to have a First Friday circulator. The first run was last month. It was quite successful. We had it stationed at our Biggs Insurance lot. Biggs Insurance donates their lot for overflow parking from 5 to 9 p.m. during our First Friday events. And we had the First Friday shuttle there ready to pick people up and get them to their locations. So we're working to pilot kind of creative strategies that will help promote connectivity to the Main Street corridor, especially as the weather changes and especially as construction starts, making it as easy to get patrons to the doorways of each individual business. And during construction, we hope to amplify this strategy, using First Friday as a pilot, learning what works well, what may not work the best, and then integrating it in a full-fledged effort when construction starts. So definitely kind of a fun, private, public partnership that we're working to experiment with, but it really underscores our commitment to ensuring that people are able to access our businesses in the corridor.
And I love the colors of that ride. I just think that would look good on so many people in that car. We would all look great.
Yes, I know, especially, as with the Main Street project specifically, it will most likely have the Main Street branding on it and things like that as well. So
it's great. I'm excited. All right, next slide, please. So a few minutes ago, I talked about how we've been spending the last 2 months searching for every business up and down Main Street. In case you're curious, we found 268 businesses between 5th and 15th Street on Main Street. And so what we've been doing is we've been working with our GIS department and a few other departments, and we've created what's called this Main Street map. And our goal here is to create a tool that any community member, visitor from out of town, shopper can use so that they can find your business if you're a business owner. We also are making an app out of this so that if they're running around on their phone, they'll be able to find you, and also being able to use it on their tablets. So what this map is there's going to be a dropped pin, or there is a dropped pin for every business found. And then there's different colors to the pins. You might notice if it's a Vancouver general license or if it's a nonprofit business, it's going to be a blue dropped pin. In addition, just yesterday, we added some parking layers to this because we know how important parking is to y'all. So let's say if you look in the middle of your map, you see that orange building. If I'm using the tax lots filter, and we can reword these filters, but you'll notice that the tax lot, if it's orange, means it's a theater. So right out of the gate, I'm thinking, okay, this must be Kiggins Theater, and I can hover over until I find the red Kiggins dot. Then once we click on the dot, it will pull up some data about Kiggins. And it's really important if you're a business owner or property owner on the call, if you want your map to be accurate and you want it to work well for you, please be sure that you communicate with me and so that I can make sure that this information is what you want seen out there by the average shopper or visitor. And then finally, there will be a main parking filter. So if I know I'm going to Kiggins, let's say, I can choose from 3 different parking filters. One is for municipal lots, and all the municipal parking lots around Kiggins will pop up, all the way down to pay stations around Kiggins, all the way down to individual parking stalls around that theater. So we really are working hard to make sure that this map advertises for you in the most effective and useful way possible so that we can help get customers into your door during this process. Next slide, please. So some other business assistance ideas that we are committed to. If you have a business license and you're on Main Street or you're a business downtown, we're waiving the fees for those annual business licenses. Another big part of my job is each week I shop around and I look for grant opportunities or financial opportunities or funding opportunities. It is amazing to me how many agencies and organizations want to help business owners. So each week I find these great opportunities for business owners. I list them on this page that is listed here. I'll make sure it ends up in the chat if it's not already. And we want to connect business owners with these opportunities to help you during this time. Even if I have your contact information, I will send you a personal email saying, hey, I just found this. Like yesterday, I know a gal who's starting a farming business, an herb farm. And so sure enough, there was a USDA farming grant coming up. And so I was able to shoot her an email saying, hey, Jane, this farming grant might be a perfect fit for what you're doing. So make sure I have your contact information. I know what most of your businesses do, and I'd be happy to send those emails. And as we already mentioned, we're creating the website. Let us advertise for you. We're creating that app. Let us expose your business to the community for you. Let's do those fun videos I mentioned, meet the bartender, meet the chef, meet the owner, and let's use the city social media team, our TV crew, our station. Let's create some fun content, engaging content, so we can help you attract people into your doors during this process. And the end of the slide, you'll see how far and how deep our reach is with social media when considering Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But it won't just be our reach, it will be our partners' reach also, right? Because we're going to ask them to push everything out also. Next slide, please. So now is the time to make your voices heard, right? A project like this has many phases. It's a long project. We're talking about a couple of years here from start to finish when you really look at things. And so now's the time to make your voices heard, especially if you're a property owner or a business owner, because we're only in the discovery phase or the pre-construction phase and the design phase. And so let's say you're a business owner, let's say you're a cafe, and you were thinking maybe in the next year or two, you only have 2 seats out front of your store or your shop, you were going to buy an awning, but what if we could capitalize on this project? And what if we could leverage all the storefront improvements that are going to be happening? And instead you discover that, oh my gosh, my sidewalk is now going to be this large instead. Maybe I can have, 4 tables out there. So instead of buying that skinny little awning you were going to buy next year or the year after, maybe we can look at you should be buying a larger awning so to keep more diners covered on your sidewalk cafe. So think about capitalizing on this project. Think about leveraging any kind of storefront improvement you wanted to do or facade improvement. This would really be a good time to capitalize on what's already going to be happening right outside your front door, so that once this whole thing is done, your building and frontage is just shiny and new and inviting. We've heard some great things from other business owners, so know that we're listening, like parking. We know parking, some great parking ideas. We know that sometimes delivery trucks are in the middle of Main Street. We've heard some great ideas on solutions for that, all the way down to like paint stripe painting on the street. So whatever your ideas are, make sure that you're making them heard now, because our design team is trying to incorporate all of these ideas and make them as possible as we can with the space and the limitations and the parameters that we're working with. So please get involved. Next slide. So yes, this project, let's be frank, this project will be hard. It will be dusty. But this project will benefit businesses in so many ways in the long run. This project will create significant long-term opportunities if you happen to be a business on Main Street. It's going to transform the way people move up and down Main Street. It's going to create a street that's safer and more inclusive, When you think about the sidewalks and the walkways, it's going to improve access to your business, so it's more inviting and open, and I don't feel so crowded when I'm trying to come into your doors. And it will enable business owners to reach a brand new market, a brand new customers with all the social media assistance that you're going to have over the next year or two. So this is a lot. Next slide, please. This is a lot that we're committing to, all of our partners are committing to. And if you're wondering why, you guys are our why. If you know Sherry with Y Racing just around the corner on Broadway, she always talks about finding your why. And really, to be honest, you guys are our why. If you're a worker in our community, you're contributing to our community. If you're a business that maybe has worked with Shawnette or the VDA in enhancing lighting outside of your business, you're helping to reduce crime and making us feel safe up and down our Main Street. We all know that it's businesses who bring life, activity, and vitality to our Main Street and provide us with places to meet, eat, drink, and socialize, right? And whenever you have a great Main Street, it's going to increase property values for all of us who happen to live nearby or in the city. And finally, every single company, every single business up and down Main Street, you all provide important services to residents who are lucky enough to live here and to visitors who are coming in on the boat. I can't remember the name, but we understand that this is going to be difficult, but we are committed. This is our Main Street promise to you because you are our why. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michael Walker.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Julie. And if you can move to the next slide, please, Sherry. Awesome. So VDA will really be playing a strong advocacy partner and resource role in this project. So much so, we're currently in discussions as we formulate our 2023 budget on some items we can think of now to improve and enhance business resiliency during construction. Things like providing some signage grants or facade grants. During construction, we want to ensure that businesses are well positioned to meet the need that'll be to improve, wayfinding and also to get people into the storefronts during a very construction-heavy environment. But we'll also be working to advocate for businesses and their explicit needs. So consider VDA a resource for everything related to construction. If you have a strong concern or if you think of a program idea that we should be implementing to help support your business during construction or pre-construction, please let me know and we'll definitely consider it. We'll have block captains. So block captains will be on the street, block by block. There'll be a captain that represents the project. Most of them will be business owners working to be on the ground, checking in with business owners, property owners, delivering updates, remediating concerns. But we're also going to be adapting our events. So our signature First Friday event, our award ceremony, things of that nature will be working to change up and also make construction themed and oriented. We'll be doing, I think it's important to celebrate our wins. We'll be doing ribbon cuttings on new segments of the projects, working with the press to help get visibility related to the construction and also to encourage patronage of small businesses in downtown. And we'll also be creating synergy with the City of Vancouver's social media channels. We reach about 20,000 people on our channels. So between both of us, we'll have a strong audience representing, local residents, property owners, business owners, people who live, work, and play in downtown. And we'll also be, again, really underscoring the need to provide feedback on how we should direct our initiatives to support you during construction. So 2023 will be a great listening year for us, especially as the project goes through its design phases. We strongly encourage you to get involved in that way to ensure that the project really mirrors our community values and the community needs. And with that, next slide. And I think, Teresa, this is you.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, and thanks, Julie, too. And we're seeing a lot of posts in the chat. Julie, you have your own fan club already. I can see this. Julie is the best. And great comments about your passion for the city and for downtown. Linda said, your enthusiasm and promise make me feel like we have a great advocate. So we're here, Julie, to make sure that you can keep up that great work. Please keep posting in the chat as we're talking and give us your comments or your questions, and take a look at this. Now I'm going to repeat some of those opportunities that I talked about earlier. So here we have a virtual meeting and we want to hear from you in person though. So your first chance to do that is November 30th from 4:30 to 6 at the downtown library. Next opportunity will be during VDA's First Friday event. VDA office is going to be open with some pictures and surveys and a place you can stop by and be heard and ask questions. We'll continue these monthly stakeholders meetings online every fourth Tuesday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. We'll give you a chance to take surveys and get more information at our website called beheardvancouver.org. And you have a chance to email the project team through Julie, and she's posted her email here. And I don't see any comments, but I do see the mayor still on the line, so I'm going to put her on the spot if she doesn't mind. You've been listening patiently to all this, Mayor. What thoughts do you have? You know, you and the council are the ones that originally dedicated the funding, the federal funding for this project.
Well, you're right, Teresa. We're so excited that everyone has the opportunity to pitch in and makes a difference for their business. Main Street is extremely important to us, and Linda Glover jumped in a long time ago as a council member to make sure that we paid special attention to Main Street and all the businesses up and down. But we know that as that bridge project moves forward, we want to get ahead of it. So please stay involved. And as Michael put in the chat, send your ideas to everyone, Teresa and Michael and Julie, so that we can all figure out how to implement those. But we're here to help, and we want to keep everything moving along smoothly. Attending those monthly stakeholder meetings is extremely important. I know it takes time away from your business, but let us know how we can help, and let's get going.
Thanks, Mayor. And we are getting going. It's going to be a while before we actually have anything going on the street. And as Julie was saying, that's giving us time to look around at other cities and what their experience has been. Some of you will remember Camas went through this and did a lot of work to their streetscape. Oregon City has done that as well. Port Townsend. And so Julie, I was gonna say we, but it's really Julie is contacting those cities, and she's finding out what we can learn from them, so that as that behind the scenes kind of work is going with our contractors that Juanita Rogers mentioned, and they're doing that survey work and boring and things like that. Julie's out there doing work with other cities to find out the best ways we can make this a success. And so, Sherry, can I ask you to stop sharing the PowerPoint, please? And so we still have a few minutes left, and we have quite a few people in our meeting today. And so we just invite you still to we have 35 in the meeting, to put a comment in the chat if you have something to say, a question, or something you'd like us to address. If you're going to come to the open house, we'd like to know that now. So give us a message in the chat that says, I plan to be at one of those meetings. And I'll give you a couple minutes and here's a question from Kit Christopher. Are there exemplary main streets that you are drawing significant inspiration from? And if so, where? And I'm actually I said something about that the city's doing, but let's go to Michael. And Michael, you just even came back from a conference, I think, and you have a really good network within the Main Street community.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question, Kit. So I just had the lucky opportunity to participate in a state conference last week in Wenatchee, Washington, out east. And when I was on their Main Street, I saw overhead decorative lighting. And this is one thing we're kind of drawing inspiration from is what are other communities doing that really enhance sense of place and really create a district. And this is one really simple tactic to really enhance a corridor. And this gave me inspiration recently, kind of just touching on your question on what's truly possible with this project. Just imagine looking at Main Street, seeing lines of lights. People will just be drawn to walk up the street, to visit businesses, to get, dinner, lunch, what have you. But it also has a safety component because it really illuminates the roadway, makes pedestrians feel safe and welcome. So this is a really small example of one recent Main Street inspiration that I had. Another Main Street inspiration I had over in Oregon, they have in the city in Oregon, they have a rotating public art program. So I thought, well, how cool would it be if we identified some public art sites throughout the corridor and do a rotating sculpture program where every year we change out some sculptures, we add some new ones on a rotating basis to really enhance sense of place, create identity, celebrate our culture. And then also when you look at Camas, it's really interesting to see their before and after photos. And I don't have any on hand currently, but Camas used to look very similar to downtown Vancouver. It was just a really large, wide road. And then about, I think it was in the 60s or 70s, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a little bit later than that, they went through a pretty comprehensive streetscape redesign. And they really oriented it more so around pedestrians, added a lot of new trees. And now as the trees have grown and it's really established itself, it really feels like a very quaint, small, classic Main Street corridor. So it's really impressive to see what infrastructure can do in really developing a place. Yeah, and also been touching base with a lot of other Main Street communities throughout the state. There's a total of 37, many of which have gone through pretty extensive Main Street overhauls. So working to get some inspiration from them and best practices as well.
And Michael, that reminds me that some of the strategies Julie talked about are marketing. And so because this is a priority city project, we've really got the power of the city's communications arm behind us. And so that means for once, the city can promote private business on Main Street. And I know you've heard of some other cities that have had some marketing campaigns, and they, I think they acknowledge that the construction is going on, and then they make it sound appealing. Yes? Yes. Okay.
I think Julie's trying to unmute herself.
Okay.
I see some other questions popping in the chat. Annie, will that, I plan to be at the meetings. Will that be the best time to ask a few questions, or would emailing them be more efficient? I think either or is a great opportunity. Open houses, you'll be there with the project staff, and I think that might provide a pretty conducive environment to getting questions answered. But always open to emails as well. And earlier up in the chat, I provided those. If you have more of a detailed question, that might take some more time to respond to, if it's kind of more of an intricate question. Brenda, we look forward to seeing you there with Jim and Gail. Any plans to tie our history to the project with Main Street having such a historical significance? Yes, I know this is going in front of the Historical Preservation Commission on November 2nd for feedback. I'm working to get their input and suggestions as we move forward in the project. Teresa, if you kind of want to touch on that a little bit and how we're engaging that group.
Sure. Part of the federal requirements for the funding is having a historic inventory of the street done. And we've now had probably more research done on Main Street than we've had in a long time. So we've now accumulated a lot of great information. We know from the project analysis that there won't be an impact to any of the historic buildings. So that's good. But we've got this great information, and so we'll be talking to the Preservation Commission next Wednesday, and this will be our second time going back to them. They're very interested in following the progress of the project.
Yeah, and Gail, just one more thing to touch on too is we really hope, kind of going more towards a design phase, which we haven't gotten quite there yet. But I would love to see some historical markers along the roadway. Possible information panels. You see one in front of the Kiggins, for example, across the street that helps provide context to visitors about the Kiggins history, for example. So identifying strategies and areas in which that would be a good opportunity from a design lens, we would love to consider those as well to help educate the public on our great history. And I see a question, is there a reason we're not including Uptown? Uptown was done in 1993 or was it 1996? That was actually the first leg of the Main Street Improvement Project. Wider sidewalks and design elements. And that kind of speaks back to the longevity of this project in particular. Is it's been about 30 years in the making, and Main Street was first done in Uptown Village back in the 90s. So this is now the Main Street corridor in Lower Main, south of 15th. I believe it hasn't had a comprehensive overhaul since at least the 1950s.
Yeah,
Alex,
and Michael, I also know that you're working with Uptown and to help them do some other kind of refresh type projects. Didn't you just work with them on getting new banners up there?
yeah, we're working on some design programs up there with them. You know, we revitalized their banner program. We expanded it by, I think, like 50%. We almost more than, it's pretty extensive. We're also doing some small public art things up there, doing a pilot litter receptacle program and things like that. Thank you, Dara. I appreciate that.
I
and
see
then
a
Alex-
question for the city, and so I think I'm going to field that one. Michael, if you could take the one after that. Will
Yeah.
the city be requiring building owners to fix or update long overdue exterior projects on those older and historic buildings? We will be incentivizing them to do that, which I think is better than requiring. So Washington State has a great tax incentive called special valuation, and that's gives property owners a tax break for renovating a historic building. And so we'll make sure that our building owners are well aware of that. And if we have some interest from them, we'll work one-on-one with them, and that'll go through our Historic Preservation Commission. Michael?
Yeah, I think those, I think that, I think we've answered most of the questions in the chat here.
Alex has a question.
Oh, I see with
Yeah.
the rules around awnings. I know downtown's technically a rain protection corridor. So, and those are questions I've been receiving as well. So that's a great question, Alex. I think we should refer that back to the project team to see if there's opportunities to identify ways we could help support mutual goals in that respect. But Teresa, do you see an opportunity for that with the project?
I do, as we go into the design phase, and we have our project team members are on this call today. So our project partners at McKay Sposito, our other city staff from Public Works are all on this call, and they're listening. And so when we get to the design phase, we'll talk to them about revisiting the awnings. And so maybe signage as well. We haven't really gotten to that point yet, but we will soon.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Alex. We'll definitely, I'll follow back up with you on that specifically.
I just wanted to chime in while people are thinking of more questions, as we have 9 more minutes together. As I go to, and we've talked about this, as we go to these team meetings and we talk about all the partners and all the, you know, McKay Sposito folks, the First 40 Feet folks, the Point North folks, everybody who's working on this project, almost all of us have either grown up here or lived here a really long time. So the dedication and the commitment that everybody who's working on this project has to making this as palatable as possible. I don't think, if you think about construction work in other cities, it's just, you know, people coming in and doing the work. I don't think it's common to have this deeply rooted and deeply caring group that is trying to push this project forward in a way that is as least disruptive as possible, and to find silver linings through this. It's just a testament, I think, to everybody who's involved in the project, and should be called out because it's special.
Yeah, it's a really great point, Julie. I appreciate you stating that. And I also think it's exciting too to think about, you know, Main Street, from my understanding, was last done in the 1950s era. So this is truly a generational project, and everyone on the call right now has a huge opportunity to have their fingerprint on it in some way, shape, or form, and really help to guide what the core of the community will look like for the next possibly 170 to 100 years. So that's a very rare opportunity. So I just appreciate everyone being engaged and involved in this process today by joining in.
Well, I don't see us getting any more questions, and so I think we can start to wrap up. We sure appreciate you all being on the call and sticking with us and coming back every month and participating in the forum with us. And then we're also excited to see you in person, which we haven't done for so long, at those meetings on November 30th and at the First Friday meeting at VDA. Both of those are drop-in open house types, so come when you can and participate. And then, Michael, I think you were going to talk about our next stakeholders forum.
Yeah, so our next stakeholders forum is on November 22nd. That will be focusing primarily on the Case-Pacito updates and also to preview future engagement opportunities for the project, along with a possible survey component. So we encourage you to participate in that meeting as well. And it's the week before the open house, so it could be a good opportunity to get a primer heading into that. Awesome.
Okay. Well, we sure appreciate everyone being here and hope to see you again next month and at the open houses. To hear from you by email or in person. Michael, let's put our emails in the chat before we go so that people can have that information about how to contact us. And then I'll turn it back to you, Michael, to wrap us.
Yeah, definitely. Again, just kind of underscoring, I really appreciate everyone participating today, and we look forward to helping this project move forward with your guidance. So again, kind of really underscoring this is a community-led process, and we look forward to engaging you all on it. So again, we put our emails in the chat. VDA is working on work plans right now for 2023. So if you can think of anything for a pre-construction initiative, like how do we improve business resiliency, for example, could that be an e-commerce assistance opportunity, or are there things that we're not maybe thinking about? So feel free to reach out to me directly on how we should approach our strategies moving forward into 2023. And again, yeah, thank you guys for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Bye.
Awesome. Take care, guys. Thank you.